Thanks for agreeing to set up this interview. As you know, we only have a short amount of time, so let's go ahead and get started right away.
Okay.
Now, I know that you've been involved in some work on community issues. Can you tell me what attracted you to the community issue that you chose at the beginning of the semester?
Yeah, sure. So when I was trying to pick out my community issue, what I was really looking for was one that I could relate with. I wanted to find a community issue that I could relate with because I knew that I would care about that issue a lot more, and that would especially come in handy when it came to the persuasive speech later on. But more importantly than that, I was trying to find an issue I could relate with because I knew it would allow me to more effectively communicate my ideas to the audience, be more effective in communicating what the issue was, as well as why the audience should even care about it. So that was really the thought process that I had and how I was trying to pick out my community issue. And that is why eventually I ended up picking teen driving error. When I was in high school, I got in a car accident due to being distracted. So that was the first-hand experience that I was looking for, and that was why I chose teen driving error as my issue.
Okay, thank you. Now, your materials also said that you were involved in a community issue team project that focused on a call to action. Can you share with me what call to action your team put forward and why you chose that call to action?
Certainly. So my team and I really came up with a series of simple steps that college students would be more likely to incorporate in their everyday lives. I knew as a college student myself that I'm often very busy and that I wouldn't really want to have to do anything that would be an inconvenience to me. So really, my team and I were looking for some simple steps that wouldn't inconvenience college students. And what we came up with was 2 simple steps to solve the 2 problems that we had addressed. The first problem we talked about was driving after having consumed alcohol. The simple step that we asked students to take was to plan a sober driver before they consume any alcohol. The other problem that we addressed was the fact that college students are not as experienced as middle-aged drivers. And the way we addressed this issue was we asked the students to simply take a defensive driving course. I had taken a defensive driving course myself, and I knew that it provided very valuable information that would help make drivers better. So we took those 2 simple steps because we knew that college students would easily be able to incorporate those steps into their everyday lives.
I see. Now, if I were to ask the other members of your team what they think your biggest strength is, what do you think they would say, and why do you think they would say it?
Well, I think they would have to say leadership was my biggest strength because I got teamed with a pretty interesting group. Both of them had grown up outside of the US, and so they were not as accustomed to the English language as I was. Therefore, I knew out of everyone in my group, I would be able to most effectively communicate our ideas to the audience. So I knew that I would have to step up into that role so that they could easily communicate their ideas. They both had strong accents, so I knew that the audience would sometimes struggle with understanding them. So I stepped up into the role and I took our ideas and worded them so that the audience would be able to clearly understand what we were saying. In addition to that, I also took on the leadership role of the overall process. I headed up all of the meetings that we went through and organized all the events.
Okay, great. What for you was the most challenging thing about working with your team?
Oh, I would definitely have to say the most challenging thing was communication, which kind of makes sense. As I said, they were not as accustomed to the English language, and they both had pretty strong accents. Personally, I know I often found it difficult to understand what they were trying to say when they were trying to communicate an idea to me. However, I think I did a pretty good job at overcoming this issue. When I did not understand what they were saying to me, I asked them to simply repeat what they had said, or I asked them to come up with a different way to explain it so that I could understand it in a different way. And I would keep asking them until I finally understood what they were trying to tell me, what their idea was that they were trying to communicate. So ultimately, I think communication was definitely the biggest challenge in working with this group, but I think that everyone in my group worked hard to overcome this challenge, and I think that we did a really good job at it.
Thank you. Okay, last question. In 30 seconds or so, tell me what your biggest takeaway was from Com 110 this semester. What will stick with you and be useful to you?
That's a really good question. I would definitely have to say that my biggest takeaway would be confidence in myself. When I came into this, originally, I was nervous of talking in front of the class. I was nervous about the whole idea of being in this class with public speaking. However, over the course of the semester, I realized that I really had nothing to worry about. I grew in confidence in myself. I realized that what I used to worry about had no relevance at all. Didn't have to worry about it anymore. So by the end of the semester, I really had a lot more confidence in myself, and it was that confidence that I think is going to be the biggest takeaway for me.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. We'll probably be in touch with you in the next few weeks or so. Take care.
Thank you. You take care too.